video is on factoring trinomials where they're of the form, as shown here, ax squared plus bx plus c. Now we're going to do ones for the most part where a equals 1. This is going to correspond with our sum and difference puzzles that we did earlier. So our learning target is I can factor trinomials and use them to solve real-world problems. I'm just going to put solve problems for space here. So what is the diamond method? The diamond method is a method to factor quadratic trinomials, and it will work for other ones that have the same pattern, but they're rare. You mostly use this for quadratics of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And a, b, and c are just numbers. So in order to look at this method, you need to be careful and look at your a value. As I said, we are going to focus mostly on when a equals 1. I'm going to do one example where a is not equal to 1, but we're going to come back and cover those in more detail later. Okay, so the idea is that we have ax squared plus bx plus c. Now hopefully that x looks familiar. So we're going to create a sum and difference puzzle. The c goes to the top here, and the b goes to the bottom. So we want two numbers that multiply together to give you c, and when added, give you b. So let me write that below. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to c. I want that to be the same color as the c I put in the puzzle. And add to b. So that's the key for that. Now, the second puzzle, what we do is we first multiply a times c together, and that's what goes in the top. So we do a times c, and then the bottom is still b. So I'll list the procedure here. So two numbers that multiply to AC and add to, let me use the same color scheme I used before, to B. And then after that, what you have to do is use grouping. It's not looking so good. Let me use a different color. So I'm just going to do one of those. I wonder why that won't make a U. There we go. I'm going to just do one of the grouping ones today, and then in another video we'll do more of those. So these really come down to just going through them and doing them. So if you have your sum and product puzzles down, it's very simple. So over here on this side, I am going to do two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 20. I'm having trouble with my colors today. Negative 20. and when added, give me positive 8. So when I think through this, okay, 20, 4 and 5, I can't add those to get 8. I can get negative 9, but I know one number has to be negative and one has to be positive because my 20 is positive. So the numbers are going to be 10 and 2. But I need a negative 2 there because I need negative 20 and positive 8. So that's what we did in our sum and product puzzles. There's only one step left to do for these, and what that is create our two binomials. An x goes in the front of each of them, and in the second part of each binomial are those two numbers we just found, like that. So that's all there is to factoring. Now what you can do to check to make sure we get this is we're going to multiply these together just as our check. So when we do that, we get, let me rewrite it here. When we multiply these two binomials, we're going to get x times x, so that is x squared. Then we're going to get x times minus 2, minus 2x. Then we're going to do x 10 times x, so that's a 10x. And then 10 times negative 2, which is negative 20. So you can see we multiplied 10 and negative 2 together to get negative 20, and when we added, there's the two additions of negative 2 and 10, we're going to get positive 8. So our answer is going to be x squared plus 8x minus 20. Okay, now the only difference for the other one, now I'm going to do my little product puzzle over here, is I'm going to first multiply the 3 and the 6 to negative 6 together, and I'm going to get, whoops, sorry about that, I am going to get negative 18. But the 17 still goes at the bottom. So two numbers that multiply together give you negative 18, and when added, give you positive 17. So that's going to be positive 18 and negative 1. So here's what you do with those. We're going to set up a grouping. So instead of just going straight to the factoring, because we have to deal with this 3 here, because if you notice, when we did our check over here in the first problem, we just had x times x, so we could just write the two x's. So the question is, how do we divide the 3? What binomial does this 3 go in? So here's how we deal with that. We set up a grouping problem. So what we have here is we have 3x squared, and now instead of writing 17x, we're going to write it like we have in the yellow right here, is we are going to break it up into its two factors. So we're going to write it as a plus 18x and then a minus 1x, and then we finish the binomial off with the minus 6. So now we have taken the 17x here and we've turned it into the plus 18 minus 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to group. That's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to write these in two groups. And remember, the goal is to factor it in such a way so the two parentheses are the same. So in the first group, I'm going to factor out a 3x. So when I divide that out, I have x plus 6. So the second group also needs an x plus 6, but they're both negative, so I'll factor out a negative 1. And now I'll be done. So I have my x plus 6, and now I have my 3x minus 1. So as I said, we're going to do more of those later, but I wanted you to have them in your notes. Right now we're going to factor on when a is 1. So let's go through and do these 3 together, and then I'll give you guys a couple to do on your own, and then we'll do some practice. Okay, so for the first one, we want two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 12, and when added give me positive 4. So those two numbers are going to be 6 and negative 2. And again, remember, I could have written them the other way. I could write the negative 2 first. It doesn't matter. So I'll write the two parentheses. I write x, and then I write a plus 6 and a minus 2. All right, next one. Here's my x. Two numbers that multiply together to give me 7, and when added, give me 8. So that's going to be 1 and 7. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 plus 7 is 8. So writing my two parentheses. Now if you notice, be careful, because here the variable changed to a y, so make sure you write y's. So then we have y plus 1 and y plus 7. And then finally the third one, just go ahead and scribble out the third problem. That's when we use grouping. We'll do more of those, like I said, but for now I want to focus on just the a equals 1. So next we have x squared minus 8x minus 20. So we need two numbers that multiply together to give you negative 20, and when added, give you negative 8. So in this case, it's going to be negative 10 and positive 2, because our 8 is negative. So I'll write my two binomials, put x minus 10 and x plus 2. Okay, I'm going to finish this video up with two problems at the end on Edpuzzle. So good luck with these, and we're going to do some practice.